Welcome back to Miss Eddie's Math Movies, where it's a cute to be a square. Today's lesson is on section 2.4, vertical angles. Of course, before we start talking about them, we need to know what they are. So, the definition of vertical angles are two angles formed by intersecting lines. And maybe we should put in the word there, opposite. Two opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. Let's draw a picture. So here's two lines that intersect. Right? Intersect just means cross. And we're looking at angles that are opposite each other. So I'll label these. So 1 and 3 are vertical angles because they're opposite each other. 1 and 3. Then the other pair would be 2 and 4 because they are opposite each other. A linear pair, the word kind of gives it away. Inside linear, you see the word line, and pair means two. So two, they have to be adjacent. Two adjacent angles that form a line. So I'm going to draw the same picture again, and we're going to look at it a little bit differently now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm looking for two angles that form a line. So let's check out 1 and 2 first. If I cover up the other ones, notice 1 and 2 form a line. So 1 and 2 are a linear pair. They're next to each other. Adjacent means next to. And they're making a line. Also look at 2 and 3. 2 and 3, if I cover up the rest, 2 and 3 form a line. Similarly, 3 and 4 form a line. You can see that. And so do 4 and 1. If I cover up the other angles, 4 and 1 make a perfectly straight line all on their own. They have to be next to each other. They have to share a side and a vertex. So let's do some practicing with these definitions. Determine whether the labeled angles are vertical angles, a linear pair, or neither. So basically, are they opposite each other? Are they making a line? Or neither? Let's see, 1 and 2 are next to each other. They're not across. So that means they're not vertical. And if I cover up all the other angles, are they making a line? Yes, they are. So they are a linear pair. Now 3 and 4 are kind of opposite of each other. If I cover up the other angles, are they making a line? No, they're not. So they're not linear, but these lines aren't intersecting. Notice this line is broken, if you want to say. It's not perfectly straight. So if I were to make this line perfectly straight, then these would be vertical, but not 3 and 4. They are neither. They have to be perfectly opposite each other. So here's a good example, 5 and 6. Notice the lines are intersecting, they're forming an X. That's kind of what you're looking for, is for an X-like shape. And they are opposite each other. So they are vertical angles. All right, now we're going to learn some postulates, some rules and theorems about vertical angles and linear pairs. So the linear pair postulate, you just remember this means that the linear pair rule says if two angles form a linear pair, so they form a line, then they're supplementary. If you remember, supplementary means they make 180. Well, that makes sense. If you're making a line, then you're making 180. And vertical angles Well, we talked about this before. 1 and 3 are opposite each other. Look at the size of 1 and 3. It looks like the same size. And look at 2 and 4. They are the same size. So vertical angles are congruent. They are equal. They are the same measure. So we're going to use these rules to solve. So the first thing you always want to ask yourself is, are we looking at a linear pair or are we looking at vertical angles? So find the measure of RSU. RSU. Okay. First thing I notice is that these two angles are making a line. They are making 180. So I know that they're supplementary. Right? I need to get to 180 degrees total. So 62 and what make 180? If you want to write an equation, you can. You can say 62 plus x equals 180. But you probably already knew that you were going to subtract 62 anyways. 180 minus 62. Right, because we need to get to 180, and we already have 62. That means that we need 118 more degrees, because 118 plus 62 is 180. So that was linear pair, an example of a linear pair. Now we need to find the measure of CED. CED. All right. Are they making a line or are they opposite each other? They are opposite. They are vertical angles. I see this X and they're across from each other, so that means vertical angles. It kind of gave us a hint here too. And we know from our previous rule that vertical angles are congruent. Angle AEB is congruent to angle CED. Those are the angles we're talking about. AEB is right here. CED. Those two angles are the same, which means angle CED is 50 degrees. So notice here we are going to 180. Here they're equal. So that's why you have to make sure you know the difference between vertical angles and linear pair. Oh, now we get to do a little bit of each. So we've got these intersecting lines. The easiest one to figure out is the vertical angle. So which one's directly across? So angle 2 is 35 degrees. Well, now let's look at 1 and 35. Notice that 1 and 35 are making a line. They're making 180. So I already have 35 degrees and I need to get to 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 35. And this is 145 degrees. Now this part is easy because 1 and 3 are vertical angles. And we know vertical angles are equal. So 3 is also 145. Now we're going to do what we've been doing, but we're going to add algebra to it. So we still have to look at the angles and decide, are they vertical or linear, and then decide what kind of equation to write. So if I look at this angle that they gave me information on and this angle, I ask myself, are they making a line or are they opposite each other? And they are opposite each other. And opposite angles or vertical angles are equal. So 4y minus 42 is equal to 2y, because these angles are equal. Well, now I want to get my y's together. So I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides. And I get negative 42 equals negative 2y. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. And I end up with 21 equals y. And we'll plug that in just to make sure that's correct. If you want to fill in these blanks here, it's the same thing. We subtracted 4y from both sides. So we got negative 42 equals negative 2y. Then we divided by negative 2, divided by negative 2. We got y equals 21. Now we're going to check our answer to make sure that that worked. So we're going to take 21 and we are going to plug it in for y and make sure that worked out. So 4 times 21 minus 42. Well, 4 times 21 is 84, minus 42 is 42 degrees. When I plug y in here, I also need to get 42 degrees, because they were supposed to be equal. And 2 times 21 is 42 degrees. That checks out perfectly, because vertical angles are supposed to be equal, and they are. The next page is a checkpoint. So this is like example 4. If you need to go look at an example, that's like example 4, all of these. And I want you to do this now. And these two are like example 5, which I want you to do now. And I want you to be careful. This one's a little bit different. Think about what these two angles are doing. Your equation is going to be a little bit different. But I want you to do all 6 of these right now. Well, that was our lesson on vertical angles. This is M Cubed signing out.